Hello everyone, this is OW Gaming and welcome to the brand new installment of Future Langrisser series for September 2023 edition. And by the time of recording, today is the 23rd of August. Well, it's actually very close for our major update in global, like for our current one with like Nymph and Tartaglia. Yep, we're very close to that one. But anyways, we're gonna talk about what's gonna come in China's version of Langrisser M, or known as CN version. And as you can tell, there are two new heroes coming to the game very soon for China for CN version of Langrisser, and we might not be getting that into CN just yet. Most of the anniversaries last one extra week, opposed to just 4 weeks, so we might not be getting that quickly. But it's a treat that we're getting this information as soon as possible. So, anyways, without further ado, let me show you the introduction of these two new characters that were introduced to the game, and soon it will become summonable once they arrive to the game in CN. Of course, global will come later. So let's get right into it. So first things first, let's talk about the two new characters. And as you can tell, those character portraits don't really match with each other because I got those from two different sources. So I got one from from that Chinese website. Well, the other one is also Chinese website, but it's posted by a different poster. So yeah, as you can tell, they both don't really match with the style, but that's who they are in the game. Well, actually, soon will be in the game. So, anyways, we got Andreo and Lemia. So Andreo is a cavalry unit. Both paths are cavalry. So he is strictly high mobility cavalry, DPS units. So and also his appearance is similar to SP Leon, which is honestly his mini sprite design is actually looks amazing. And also additionally, like since Andreo is kind of similar to Leon, you might expect that he's an Empire unit, right? Well, he is. He is Empire unit, but however, keep in mind, Andreo has no relationship with Leon. So just to throw that out there, it's just that their appearance looks similar. Doesn't mean they're from the same relationship. Yeah, just to let you know. So, anyways, he's part of Empire's Honor, Strategic Masters, and Meteor Strike. So as you can tell, his faction lineup is similar to Leon in like two factions at least. Like he is part of Empire, like Leon. Same with Strategic Masters. And then the only faction that is not with Leon is of course Meteor Strike. So yes, that is something different than what we actually maybe this is nothing new, but I don't know. I might be wrong. Anyways, having a cavalry on a Meteor Strike team is an interesting pick. Okay, next up we got Nemia. She is the Archer class. Just like Andreo, she is strictly Archer on both halves. And also faction choices she's part of is Legion of Glory, Strategic Masters, and ULS Legends. So yeah, as you can tell, ULS Legends has been picked by a lot of new OC units. That, like a lot of people believe that like Zilong really love ULS Legends, which I kind of agree because you know a lot of the new OCs nowadays have at least one character with ULS Legends, which honestly I'm fine with it. I mean, if you can make synergies with them, then great. All right, moving on. Their new casting pattern skills, as expected. Every time when a new major update is announced or being leaked, there's always going to be 4 characters receiving new casting pattern skills. So we're going to go through each of them one by one. So first off, we got Kirikaze. Arguably, a lot of people say this casting pattern is probably by far the weakest. Well, let me explain why. The crit rate increased by 10%. If the crit damage is triggered when entering battle, a random debuff will be applied to target after battle ends. This by far is great on paper, but however, when it comes to pro level interactions, This is actually not useful. Just gonna say because in the high level battles, you're gonna run into some opponents like especially in PvP, you might run into some opponents that can actually prevent debuffs, such as Liana's Gospel or anything that has immunity on debuffs like Rosen Seal, anybody in general. So yeah, you can tell that Kirikatsu is not gonna have a bright time with this when it comes to PvP. I mean, he is great for PvE, but however, not too great on PvP because casting patterns aren't meant to bring the old units into meta. No, I mean there's been rare cases like some castings actually does help out the units by a lot, but not for Kirikaze, unfortunately. Next up, we got Oboro. Oboro's casting is skill damage plus 10%. When using the Dragon Might Fury, which is his 3C, to kill an enemy, if you are in a state of dragon and the number of Dragon Might has not reached the maxed limit, you will get one additional Dragon Might at the end of the action. Or I should say, instead of called Dragon Might, maybe it's called Dragon Valor, based on the global version of the game. So if you see some weird wording on there, it's because this is roughly translated from China, or Chinese, I mean. I try my best to word everything I could, but for some reason, some actually does slip through when I'm trying to edit this kind of image. Sorry, my voice cracked. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is that Dragon Might is actually Dragon Valor. So don't get those too confused. So anyway, so here's some scenarios of how this casting works. So like like in PvP mode, for example, so if you see your opponent start rushing you all of a sudden and your Boro is not at the maximum status on the dragon transformation, with this casting you can actually choose to get a Boro out of that transformation and go to dragon immediately with like 3 stacks out, for example. So if a boar already reached at that point, and if you manage to snag a kill with Oboro's 3C, you get that last Dragon Valor added to Oboro, even when he's out of his dragon formation, the dragon transformation. I mean, so that right there is actually pretty helpful. But in other scenarios, where if you don't use him well, then yeah, that is not useful. So most of the time, if you wanted to do like a quick action with a Boro, this casting does help you in that specific situation. So like if your opponent rushed you already, and your Boro is not ready for the full transformation, yeah, that's where the skill shines. So that's actually quite helpful. Next up is Sigma. Oh man, I have some mixed feeling with this one. A lot of people included, of course. So let me explain why I think this is a bit of a mix here. So anyways, skill increased by 10%. When using Ranger's Eye, can use Ranger's Heart when ending turn. So yeah, a lot of people might be asking, doesn't Sigma already have this? Technically, yes, but no. In like in some situations, like after you marked an enemy with a 3C, if you have this casting patterns enabled on Sigma, you do get an option to activate Ranger's Heart, regardless if you have that selected as your skill set or not. So like after you use it, you get an option to either use it or not. I mean, depending on which version of Sigma you're using, like whether regular or SP. So, anyways, how this casting pattern works is actually dependent on what kind of Sigma you have. So if you have normal Sigma, you can actually act again out of this. So yeah, after you did the Ranger's Heart, that basically activates Sigma's Solitude's will, or Solitary's will, which is his act again on his talent, and also which allows him to snipe enemies. However, on the other hand, if your Sigma is an SP, he cannot act again. So this one only benefits his normal version, unfortunately. So if you're using SP, then yeah, I don't think that's useful for you. So this is a hard pass if you're using SP Sigma for a long run. But if you're just using Sigma itself, I could see some use for this, but in the long run, you probably don't need it because Sigma has been aged for too long, and he's beyond from being saved at all. Even his SP. Although his SP is interesting though. He's more like a 1v1 kind of type of guy, but I don't know. There are other units that does a better job nowadays. So yeah, Sigma days is over. I'm just gonna say Sigma is actually dead on arrival. I'm sorry. I mean, especially his skill. It's too late. I don't think this will save him at all. And finally, we got Licorice. Licorice casting is actually quite helpful when it comes to supporting. So int plus 5%, which I don't understand why they will give her just 5%. Maybe 10% maybe better, but I don't know. Maybe it's just for balancing purpose. When using skills on allies, applies damage taken minus 15% and immunity to allies in the center of the target, and that will last 2 turns. So yeah, Licorice is gonna be able to help your allies to take less damage, as well as have some sort of immunity against debuffs. I believe like certain debuffs or maybe all debuffs to allies in the center of the target. Sounds pretty strong on paper if you ask me. So yeah, Licorice. If, if you actually use her a lot, or if you think about bringing her back somehow, this is a good start for Licorice. Anyways, moving on to the next part, which is yep, exclusives. Yep, 2 new exclusive equipments. There's one for Tatalia, which is her headwear. Funny. I just talked about Tatalia from the last Future Langrisser installment, which is for global version. We just explained how she's going to be added to the game, right? Well, this time we got her as has a exclusive gear announced for CN. Kind of ironic, right? There's been a pattern where when we just talk about Amadeus, his exclusive got announced right after I plan to make the next installment for Future Langrisser. This might be a coincidence, but that could be a pattern. And speaking of the other exclusive we got is the other one is the armor for Sagani. So let me explain what Tatalia's headwear does. HP and defense plus 5%. When using Evil Thought Perception, which is her 3C, on an enemy within 3 tiles, damage dealt plus 10%. After using Evil Thought's Detour to kill the enemy, at the end of the action, you will get that effect that's called like something like a stealth of some sort, as long as your unit's HP is above 70% 70%, and this will last 1 turn. So yeah, basically Tatalia is a newer version of Epsilon, technically when it comes to her exclusive. So how this works is that the first part of her helmet is that when you're entering battle using her 3C and also attack enemy within 3 tiles, the damage dealt will increase by 10%, which is huge for Tatalia. After using the Evil Thought Detour to kill the enemy, uh, you, after that's done, Tatalia cannot be targeted by skills or AOE attacks. Well, actually, unless you get splashed. So that's what I mean. Like, it cannot be attacked by single targets most of the time. But however, if there are other units in the range of Tatalia, then yeah, she's gonna get splashed anyways. So that renders the stealth useless. But other than that, if she's separate from her group by a lot, then yeah, you don't have to worry about her being targeted, as she cannot be targeted until you act out of it. Alright, next up, Sagani. Sagani's armor is interesting because there are some rough translations, so bear with me. I'm sorry if I actually did say something a little strange here, but I'll try my best. HP plus 10%. After using Cold Sharp Eyes, you can choose to move the Snowy Owl 1 more time. When Sagani is within 6 tiles of Snowy Owl, he cannot be killed. It can only be triggered once per map. So this is roughly translated, so this might not be as accurate as it should, but according to what I know so far, after using his cold sharp eyes, I believe that's his 3C if I'm not mistaken. I'm sorry if I actually assuming things. But anyways, after that, you can choose the you'll be able to move Snowy Owl one more time after that, and also when Sagani is within 6 tiles of the owl, he cannot be killed. So he's kind of like some characters with Indomitable effect, something like that. But that's built in within the owl. So yeah, if you have this armor, then Sagani is not going to die that easily. But anyways, if this ever come to global at some point, I will make some necessary adjustments accordingly, just like I've been doing with like my past future Langrisser installments. First this will be a rough info of what we'll be looking at and what we'll be expecting, and then the global version we'll be covering will be the final version. So everything here you see might subject to change. So don't take this as a final information, because you'll never know what will change and what hasn't been changed. And finally, before closing this installment, I gotta talk about some things when it comes to additional info, because there are actually a lot of things we're gonna need to cover. So let's get right to it, shall we? Okay, let's talk about what is gonna be coming in this kind of cycle. So previously, when I was explaining about this in the my last take of this kind of video, I did have a lot of missing information, but all thanks to the missing gap, I was able to fill it in. So anyways, there's a new radar banner for Grand Shield and Lambda that will be coming within this cycle. I believe on week 2 as expected. And then after that, there'll be a new Destiny banner, which is a Strategic Masters Destiny banner. This one is going to be for Juro and Layla, Joa and Connie, and Florentia. Huh. I don't know. This might be a coincidence or not, because apparently the duo characters, like in the game, we have two different ones now. The first one being Juro and Layla, and then the second one is Joa and Connie. So yeah, these two on the same banner is it might be a coincidence, but I mean, of course, they're from the same faction after all. So yeah, and also Florentia, it's been a long time, or actually she has been reappearing in other banners, but she will reappear again if you need her still. I mean, she's still good, even though the other units might have taken her place. Anywho, moving on. The Destiny banner, will be just like I expected from the previous take I had. We will be getting Towa, Illustrio, and Ashamar. That's the exact banner that we'll be getting in global, very soon. And then classic Destiny banner for Liana, Luna, and Bozel. And once again, that's another Destiny banner that we'll be getting as well. And also, now we got the banners out of the way, there's also this event we're going to need to look into. Endless Voyage is expected to return to this update. Kind of funny that we're also getting Endless Voyage in our next major update as well. Hmm, interesting. And also, let's talk about the DE revamp. So yeah, as you can tell, when I was talking about the DE revamp from the previous Future Linguist installment for August, well, I only said a few things about the DE revamp because, due to an exploit, they had no other choice but to change it. So here's what they changed when it comes to DE. So, anyways, there's now 8 areas total, and also a new area will open on different days. So this is kind of like how they run with like limited events with stories. So like crossover events, for example, something like that. And speaking of crossovers, I've actually had some bad news about that, because I'm sad to say that the reruns for old class we had so far, they have not resurfaced. They're still not appearing in any of those broadcasts at all, or forecast. So yeah, we might not be seeing those ever return, like ever. Like that's the worst case scenario. So if they did not actually do some reruns of the old banners, like old collabs, I mean, I could already see that there's going to be a lot of concerns to a lot of players, because a lot of players really wanted to get those units, even though they missed them the first time. They probably might not be getting them the second time. So that means that Overlord, I actually going to miss out here permanently, which is sad. Kong included as well because Kong also missed the Shaltir, but we got Albedo though. Even though Albedo is actually kind of a niche pick, but I mean she has her uses in the AI arena. But other than that, she's a solid tank when it comes to like preventing damage, and also she does have the she's notorious of doing fixed damage back at the range attackers or any attacker that try to attack her with whatever. Anyways, hope y'all find this video informative, and I'll see y'all next time.